This is my response to WCCO's question, should able-bodied Medicaid recipients be required to work? Here is the actual law in Minnesota. I'm going to talk to you about a breast cancer patient in treatment on Medicaid. This is not a new legal proposal, and it provides insight into what the government-controlled policy should be and would be. These matters are controlled by people like Dayton Associate Emily Johnson Piper as his Commissioner of Human Services, and gubernatorial candidate Lori Swanson in her present capacity as Minnesota Attorney General. So hundreds of women are in breast cancer treatment, which is an option authorized by federal law, part of the Medicaid Act called the Breast and Cervical Cancer Prevention and Treatment Act. It's adopted by the Minnesota State Legislature. Here's what they tried to do to my wife while I was running against Al Franken for the U.S. Senate in 2014. Faceless bureaucrats who have hid their face from us, we've never seen them, were in the Ramsey County Welfare Department. Because my wife was in cancer treatment, her medical care was transferred to these faceless welfare bureaucrats. They cut off her breast cancer treatment insurance when she was 63 years old, not eligible for even Medicare, which doesn't cover the medical care the categorical Medicaid program did. We called and talked to another worker when we were told by a hospital that her MABC was not active. The original worker, Terrell Nelson, whom we've never met, had given herself a vacation and training after terminating my wife's health insurance. We told them we never received her mailing, and indeed, they had the mailing that said undeliverable to our correct address. In order to keep the MABC, we had to go to a Social Security office, wait in this big line for a day to get a letter saying because she was 63, she could not get Medicare. If we had not appealed within 10 days of learning of this action by Terrell Nelson, with a specific request to keep her life-saving cancer treatment insurance active on appeal, she would have lost it forever, because Mark Dayton's machine under Emily Piper and Lori Swanson would never give it back. And this would have been with no hearing. Oh, and if you think this is unconstitutional, the Minnesota legislature, in its infinite wisdom, has passed a law that you cannot raise constitutional issues in the administrative appeal process. And you can't get to a state court without going through the administrative appeal. And in 2015, while I was litigating against Lori Swanson and Mark Ritchie and Steve Simon over elections, Terrell Nelson again terminated my wife, and we got notice the same day we needed to appeal and asked the breast cancer treatment be continued on appeal. And we did, thankfully. And then within days of my announcing I was running in the Democratic primary against Betty McCollum in 2016, Terrell Nelson again, 5 months before my wife's 65th birthday, went into her files and without ever contacting my wife, canceled the MABC, and it's never been restored. The Dayton administration knows this. Emily Piper found this to be the fact. Even a district court judge that Dayton appointed, Sean Barch, who's up for re-election in 2020, knows this. And she has been stopped or stripped of that medical care coverage, my wife, for over 2 years, and her treatment is scheduled to stop about the same day as the general election in 2018, coincidentally. But what's more, what the welfare people did when I ran against McCollum was to treat my wife differently, as if the two of us, husband and wife, that we needed to spend our total income way down to 80% of poverty level each month with medical bills before any Medicaid assistance could be paid for during her ongoing cancer treatment. This is a Mark Dayton, Lori Swanson horror story that Amy Klobuchar is fully informed of. By herself, my wife being in cancer treatment and limiting her ability to work could have qualified for having her treatment paid for on her own account. Now, my understanding is that hundreds of women, at least, have been treated this way as part of the state's strange version of a breast cancer treatment program that provides for full treatment of their cancer. Under Medicaid law, the state must conduct an impact study on how this horrible practice affects the efficiency, economy, and quality of care of these hundreds of women, many of whom are in worse shape than my wife, because we caught the cancer in time. We thank God. This is unacceptable. It is indeed a war on women which greatly deviates from the stated intent of the real women leaders in the U.S. Senate who fashioned this program. Amy Klobuchar has badly dropped the ball, and I guess because I was running against her and other Democrats, doesn't really like me or my wife very much. Based on our cancer care experience, my answer is that in any case, these faceless welfare people should not have any discretion that would go beyond what DEED, the Department of Employment and Economic Development requirements, who are the only ones qualified to administer work rules and eligibility. And I can tell you that they did that badly during the emergency employment insurance program during the Obama administration. But welfare people in that department cannot be trusted not to take the money and give themselves raises or apply it for welfare payments to those people they like and care about, which will very likely not be you. And with their sovereign immunity, you could never have any remedy against their terrible actions.